Think back to 15 or 20 years ago. When you bought a toy, a t-shirt, or an early electronic gadget, what did the sticker almost always say? Made in China. And at that time, that phrase meant something specific. It meant cheap, basic, and, honestly, probably not the best quality. China was the world's factory. America and Europe sent their blueprints there because the labor was incredibly cheap, and there were very few rules. China was the world's factory. America and Europe sent their blueprints there because the labor was incredibly cheap, and there were very few rules. But look around you today. Today, China isn't just making your plastic toys. They are leading the world in electric vehicles. They have the largest 5G network on Earth. They are the masters of drone technology. They developed TikTok, the app that captured the world, from cheap manufacturing to technological domination. How did this happen? It is one of the biggest economic transformations in human history, and it didn't happen by accident. Today, we are going to break it down simply. We'll look at the history, the ingenious and controversial tactics they used, and a very heated current debate about pollution and power. Let's get into it. Today, we break down the Chinese century. To understand today, we have to go back to 1978. Before this, China had spent decades isolated and economically struggling under Mao Zedong. The country was very poor and closed off. When Deng Xiaoping took power in 1978, he looked at his country and realized they needed a radical change. He launched a program called Reform and Opening Up. Deng's philosophy was famous. He said, "It doesn't matter if the cat is black or white, so long as it catches mice." In other words, he didn't care about strict political ideology anymore. He cared about economic results. His plan was brilliant. Use capitalism to save socialism. But how do you start an economy from zero? You attract foreign money. China created special economic zones, like the city of Shenzhen. Shenzhen was just a small fishing village at the time. They offered huge tax breaks to foreign companies to come and set up factories there. The gate was opened. This brings us to the time many of us remember, the 1990s through the early 2010s. This was the boom. America and Europe rushed in. Why? Two main reasons. First, an almost endless supply of people willing to work for wages that were extremely low compared to the West. Second, almost no environmental or social regulations. Companies could pollute and create products far cheaper than they ever could at home. During this period, the West was happy. Western companies got rich. Western companies like Apple, Nike, and Volkswagen got rich by lowering their manufacturing costs. But China was playing the long game. At first, they were just assembling things. Your iPhone was assembled in China, but the design, the software, and the profits stayed in California. China was keeping only a tiny fraction of the money. Pekin understood that to become a superpower, they needed to be the brain that designed them. And they had a sneaky plan. This is the most clever part of the story, and the most controversial. This is how the transfer of technology happened. China said to Western companies, "We have the biggest market in the world. You want to sell your cars, your trains, and your phones here? Okay, but there's a condition." That condition was the joint venture. Western companies were forced to partner. So, if Volkswagen wanted a factory in China, they had to partner with a Chinese car company. The German engineers set up the lines, and the Chinese engineers worked alongside them. They watched. They learned. They took notes. They took pictures. They absorbed all the Western manufacturing secrets. And soon, those Chinese engineers started their own companies. First, they just copied the products. They were known for counterfeits, bad copies. Then, they started improving the products. And finally, they started innovating by themselves. China stopped wanting to be cheap. The government invested hundreds of billions of dollars into their Made in China 2025 plan. The goal: dominate the industries of the future. They poured money into education, creating millions of highly skilled engineers and robotic specialists every year. And they built the largest high-speed rail network in the world. Infrastructure. Building the largest high-speed rail network in the world. They didn't focus on old technologies. They bet everything on new things. Advanced batteries. Electric cars, where companies like BYD are now beating Tesla. 5G, led by Huawei. And AI. Let's look at the before versus today comparison. Labor. Before it was cheap. Today, it's skilled. Innovation. Before, it was copying. Today, China is a world leader in patents for AI and solar energy. Dependence. Before, China needed the West. Today, the world depends on Chinese components. China no longer follows standard rules. They make the standards. But this massive rapid development came at a huge cost. Pollution. We've all seen the images of Beijing choking in smog. Lately, Europe and the USA have put immense pressure on China. They told Beijing, "You must close your dirty coal plants. The climate crisis is an emergency, and you are the world's biggest CO2 polluter." This sounds fair, right? We all want a clean planet. But the Chinese response was fascinating and very blunt. You could summarize it as, "Where were your worries when you were using our land to pollute?" Beijing's argument has three main points. Historical debt. They say, "You, the West, polluted for 150 years during your own industrial revolutions to get rich. Now that it's our turn, you want to change the rules?" Exported pollution. For 30 years, you were happy to send your dirty factories here so you could have clean air in Europe. The pollution from our factories is actually your pollution because we are making your stuff. The right to develop. China believes that asking them to limit their factories is just a way to limit their growth, preventing their people from achieving the same standard of living that Westerners have. Behind the ecological argument, there is a fierce economic battle. The West is now trying to impose new carbon taxes on products that aren't green. Is it truly to save the planet? Or is it a strategy to survive? And this brings us to today. China has successfully transitioned from quantity to quality. They didn't just assemble our toys. They took the knowledge, built their own tech, and now dominate the green industries. The question for us in the West is, have we realized too late that we created our own biggest competitor by giving them our technology for 30 years? What do you think? Is it fair for Europe to tax Chinese products? I want to read your thoughts in the comments. It's a complicated issue, and I'd love to know your perspective. Don't forget to like this video if you learned something, and subscribe for more deep dives. I'm Ian Project, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care.